Man, I'm already starting to get mad. Whew. Alright, let me see if I can find this on my feed. But yeah, the only thing that I have to say is, of course, people just. I mean, I don't know. I can kind of already see like people getting mad about the things that I'm saying. And I just don't think people realize what it actually looks like. And I think it would just kind of enable them to think that, oh, because it looks that way, it's not that way. But that's kind of like your actions. You know what I mean? Like, what's the hurry? Like, what's the rush? You know what I'm saying? You're just really trying to get rid of the problem. At least that's what it appears, you know? That is just wild to me.
Killbox Studios. Yeah. What up? Pressure. Representing my homie, DJ Miss Hoodie. What's good? The girl get a grind on, man, for real. Check it. Queens in the building. Stand up. Tell me, have you seen her? Who stepped in the arena? Miss Hoodie serving, he crossed the net like Serena. And everything she play is great. So let the haters hate. Virus to their database, scrambling their data rate. Plus I got your back like scoliosis. Pressure got the antidote, be careful of the dosage. The girl is everywhere, yup, every known geography. Plus she get a swerve on with zero toxicology. The hottest beat, Hoodie and Pressure in the building. Of course the competition's mad, we meant to hurt your feelings. We see through all the politics, the truth is so revealing. We underground as hell, you hear us banging on the ceiling. Queens representative, Arizona resident, call up a detective. Truth is in the evidence and evidently present is a force that makes you hesitant. Miss Hoodie's red light is on, destruction is imminent.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? It is your girl, Audra Alquimba, getting at you guys on Thursday, November 7th, 2019. And you are listening to the White Run Podcast. This episode is part 2 of Mothers in Our Families. And like I said, I kind of feel myself getting mad already because it's been a little over a year since she passed away. And I'm kind of tripping out because I had no idea that she actually passed away before my grandmother. For some reason, I thought it was the other way around. I don't know why or how I missed that, or you know what I mean? But yeah, it just blew me for a second. But in this episode of Mothers in Our Families Part 2, I'm going to be talking about my aunt. She is my mom's sister, and in my culture, she is also my mother. So the way I'm looking at, this, even then when it happened, I lost my mom, you know? And like my grandmother, I wrote a thing for her. I feel like there's a lot to say, but I feel like there's not. And there's a reason why. In this podcast, I am going to read the post that I posted on Facebook. It's going to be posted along with this podcast. And so you guys can read the original, but I'm reading it word for word anyways, but it's there if you want to read it for yourself. And I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And once again, listen up. I posted this August 16th, 2018. And by the way, her name is Carol. Here's my post. She amazed a lot of people through being on the front cover of Arizona Highways magazine, being on postcards, as well as being high up on the wall at one of the entrances of Chandler Mall here in Arizona. She was laughing and living joys of our little family. A lot like us, she hid a lot of herself from everyone. Behind her popularity and beauty, there was a bruised heart with a bruised body. With all the boys and men in her life, none of them took care of her, and the word men is taken completely out of context in this post. They are not men. They are cowards. She should have felt protected, cared for, and loved every single day. And even though her soul has left, I believe she is still being chucked away into the ground to not be dealt with anymore. I feel as of right now, she is being humiliated still. No one knew her because she didn't want anyone to know her. So when I see people crying and sobbing with their fake sorries, they were a part of her hurt and have never played a part in her happiness/accomplishments. They contributed nothing but the bad things into her life. And what people are going to say is they'd rather remember the good things about her. These are the same people who cannot stare their problems in the face and would rather drink and overcast their problems as good things. No one mentioned to her continuously, which they should have done, that she had choices. Instead, they took her along doing things their way as opposed to what she may have had in her mind to better herself. Their fear was that she would have left them, do better without them, not share anything with them, and so they poisoned who she was as a person. It's so hard to come to the fact that they had no shame or guilt seeing from how she used to be to seeing how she is now. The people who were in her everyday life make me sick to my stomach. I believe that these people kept her from reaching out her whole life, promising her and assuring her that things won't be this way for long. Physical and mental abuse is what they've done to her all the way until her end. The apologies from them and the should haves and the could haves are and have always been pointless. These people are going to pay for the hurtful things they've said and done to her to make her feel less of a mother, a wife, a woman, and a grandmother. People who've said she's done this to herself say this without really wondering why she did the things she did. Until her end, she still didn't want anyone to know. With all this abuse, arguments, screaming matches, who's throwing who out of their house for dumb shit. I could see why she didn't want anyone to know. And that's where I'm sad for her and angry for her. Now I see that the people who should have been there for her, I see who they really are during her death. That I cannot trust them with my life, And surely cannot trust them to arrange my last wishes. And because we are not there for her being late to rest, people will be told false information. But we as a real family know what time it is. Her family do not know how to be a family, but of course everyone has their own weird ways of how a family should be. You can take it from a family who are emotional during times like this, or from a family who can and never did show any kind of emotion at all. Carol, I never thought you would be the first one to leave our family. You still had a lot of life and love left within you. I know you would have loved everyone much more if only they'd let you. You had a family that didn't know how to be a family back. They had and still have no clue as to who you really are. I believe you held back because somehow deep within your heart knew they too didn't deserve to know the real you. You were a beautiful woman with secrets. You were a model, an entertainer, an artist, and a socialite in your town. Growing up, you were the most prettiest lady I knew. I remember when it was just me and you listening to the radio. You said, "This is our song, Scylla." You turned it up and walked around the shop bobbing your head left to right. You made me laugh. But most of all, you made me feel like I had a friend. I'm sad because I will never get to hear you and Mom laughing out loud together anymore. You both sound so similar that it's hard not to laugh at you two, or to hear you say certain words in the way that you do, that me and Mom mock all the time and laugh with you in mind, or to take you out to Starbucks or Whataburger. You were fun and loving to me, and I hope I deserve that part of you. With the way your family treated you and the way you never really had a chance to be a grandmother, I personally looked forward to taking my future babies to give to you that full experience and appreciation. But where you're at now is a lot better than here. I know you're living your best life now with no more sickness and no worries. We deserve to be left behind because we never understood you completely. You knew and you did what you thought was best. This was what you wanted, and that's what's making you strong. I love you, Mom, and I'm missing you so bad already. Enjoy your new life, girlfriend. One of, well, the memory that I mentioned of her in the post was it was me and her on the reservation in my grandfather's gift shop. And that song, Girlfriend by Pebbles, came on. And she did. She turned it up and she was, dancing around and, cleaning and stuff. And I just remember her that way. And I just so many things here. Um when I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, she was she was a secret, you know. Every time we seen her, like I have never seen her without makeup. Like she was just so beautiful. She was just so like, very funny, always laughing and giggling. Um she was just always right there in her own way. Um I've always known her, like growing up, I've always known her to have like a lot of jobs. Um and I would always hear, I mean, and I could be wrong because obviously I was a child or whatever, but like I would always hear them talking in the kitchen like, oh, Carol got fired or Carol got let go. And when you're a kid, like you just think like the worst because you don't understand what certain words mean. But I mean, as an adult, knowing what fired is and being let go, it kind of does pertain to how she's been treated. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you look at a job and, oh, you got fired. It's kind of like, okay, it's either you fucked up or um, they just didn't want you anymore, being let go. I could kind of see why she just, not so much as like gave up, but I could see why she was the way that she was. Because if you look at yourself of being fired or being let go, it does kind of damage or it puts some kind of imprint in you to that extent of you're not good enough, or oh, you know what, things aren't always working out for me. So you kind of, you just, not so much as adapt to it, but it's kind of like you just go on, like it somehow identifies you in a way. And it's crazy how I feel that all those jobs that she had, it just shows that how, I mean, to me, if you have like a lot of jobs, you must be skilled in a lot of things. Like you must know things that, or you have the experience of doing things, you know, a certain way, whether it's your ability to clean cabinets or if it's your ability to sell something, just who you are as a person. Like she was a very big people person. Like there were a couple times within like the last, let's say 5 years of her life, I seen her talk to people. Like every time we went to Scottsdale to visit her in the shop where she worked, she was like a very great sales lady, you know, just very happy. She had like a very pleasant, sweet voice. Again, very beautiful, just dressed very nice, you know. And what breaks my heart at that time was, it's like, damn, this lady, you know, my mom, so beautiful, so bubbly, so, you know, professional. This is the woman that has to take a bus every day. And that shit takes hours. When she has, you know, a son that has not just one vehicle, but has two vehicles, can't try to figure out some way to help. And I believe that my aunt slash my mom didn't want to be a problem. And you can kind of see how or why she maybe thinks that way, that she's a problem. And there's just a lot. There's just a lot. Let me go back to the post. Okay, so okay, the first part of the post I said, um she was on the front cover of Arizona Highways magazine, which she was. On postcards, yes she was. And even to this day, she is still high up on the wall at one of the entrances of Chandler Mall. I believe that's who she really was, and I feel like that's what she really was supposed to be all her life, even till the end. Again, very beautiful, very stunning. I believe that's who she should have been. And she should have been treated with respect and be acknowledged and respected every single day for her accomplishments. Those were her accomplishments. There was a bruised heart with a bruised body. Yes, she had no more trust. Or maybe she did have trust, but she had trust in the wrong people. With a bruised body, she was abused. Physically, mentally, emotionally. She was abused. With all the boys and men in her life, none of them took care of her. Yes, she was married to a piece of shit, and I still believe him to be a piece of shit. And she had 4 boys. None of them took care of her. I don't care what they say, but based on what we've seen and what we were told, was that they stayed in the home, in the apartment all day. Sure, they can say, "Oh, I went out and I applied at some jobs," but who knows if they really did. They were all fucking alcoholics. They ate up everything in the house. And she was the only one busting her ass. So, yeah. And again, I know I wasn't there. I don't live with them. I never saw them every day. But every time we seen her, it's just little things that she would say that would bother her. And we told her, if you need help, if you need a ride. I mean, that was the same thing that I told her. Because, I had a vehicle, and I told her, Mom, like, if you need a ride to work, or if you need to be picked up, or if you're like extremely tired, if you need a little bit of, funds, like, I can help, because that's what we're supposed to do as children. We're supposed to help our parents out, you know. Um, she would always say, like, no, that's okay. And there was a time where when I was living by myself, I asked her to stay with me, and she said no. And I told her, why not? Like, I have room, I have a vehicle, I can get you to work every day. You don't have to worry about it and stress about it. You know, I just didn't like how she was eating. Like, I mean, I'm sure she was really fine with like a bologna and cheese sandwich, but like, I didn't like the fact that I was eating a lot more better than her. And I know that kind of sounds, silly, but she was my mom too. And if I'm eating good, I want her to eat good with me also. So that's what hurt me about her. Every time I seen her or like would visit her, I would always like take her to Starbucks. And I never used to have Starbucks when I used to take her. And I'm just like, oh my God, like really $9 for a cup of coffee? You're crazy. And she was like, oh, you want to try it? And at that time too, I never drank coffee. So I was like, no, like that's like, it's okay. It's for you, Mom. Like I want to give you the things that you like. Um, and I remember taking her to Whataburger, and I got her most favorite thing to eat, and she was loving it. And I'm like, you have this all the time, right? Because it's your favorite. And she said, it tastes so much better when it's hot. That's when I asked her to move in with me, because she should not be having cold food. You know what I mean? At least that's what I did not want that for her. Um, um, okay, so let's talk about the shitheads that was in her life. She had a husband. Um, my mom's parents, their parents didn't like him, because every time they would go to visit them, he would just get up and go into the room and close the door. Like, he didn't want to visit with them. Um, you know, it's just a rude thing to do, especially for an in-law, to do that. Um, I don't know. I've never liked him as a kid. I mean, I could like 8 years old, like I could just tell that there was like something wrong, but I just never, you know, uh, I was the type of person, or child. It's not a child's place to say or do anything, anyways. But like, I could just feel that separation between like how bubbly and talkative my family was and how he wasn't. Um, they always argued. They always, you know, they got into like physical fights and stuff. And um, everyone knew that he wasn't right for her, but she would always, like, every time they would like separate or kick each other out, next thing you know, they're like back together. And she's always like, like, oh, but I love him and he loves me, kind of thing. And it's really sad because it's like, you guys shouldn't do that to each other if you guys love each other, but we don't know their situation. Like, we don't know what was said or what was really done or what the problem really was. What kind of makes that confusing too is that they were both alcoholics. Like, they drank a lot, and just a lot going on that we just don't know. We just see that, the bruises. We see her crying, and her just like sucking it up. And every time we visited, just the fact that he would like get up and go into the other room and close the door, like not wanting to talk to us. Like, he would be like, hello, how are you guys doing? A little, pat on the back, like a half-ass hug. And then he would get a drink out of the fridge, and then he would like go into the room and close the door. So it's kind of like, no, 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 like, don't get up from the couch. You're watching TV. You don't need to like get up and leave, and that is a rude thing, especially in my culture. Um, no man should be, it's not a man's place, I should say. It is not a man's place to go and be and stay in the bedroom all day. That is not, it should not be a man's place. And that's Hopi rule, but that's what he did. There's also another, it's Hopi rule also that, let's say a daughter-in-law should not and cannot sit on her in-laws, like, her mother-in-law, her father-in-law's bed, because that actually causes laziness. So that's Hopi rule. It's kind of like the same thing, but it's just sitting on the bed. I know all this sounds, crazy, but that's just, that's Hopi rule. That's like our beliefs, and it kind of happens. Um, but he was Hopi, and he should have known that when your in-laws come over, you are supposed to be there. You're supposed to be showing and doing, you know, that you are the worthy in law and that you're doing what you're supposed to do. But it was just never like that with him. Maybe he felt like he didn't have to because they were not on the reservation, they were in the city. And oh, if I'm in the city and if our family's in the city, we get to do what we want. Well, you still kind of have to, you know, it's either that or you dismiss yourself as a Hopi man. But all of this, I mean, I can only imagine like my cousins, like her sons listening to this podcast and like being pissed off that I'm even talking about this. But it's like, I know what it's like to be in an abusive relationship. I know what it's like to be smacked the fuck up. And, the emotional, all of that, emotional, physical, like all of that. I have been abused in that way. And I can see why she was the way that she was and the choices that she made. And, if I've been in a relationship like that, I can only see why, or actually see straight up of the things that her husband, their father, was saying to her to keep her around and to allow him to keep coming home. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, it's never, and I don't think it ever was or even has been about, let me stay because of the kids. Or, I don't think it was that. I don't think, honestly, like, I don't think my cousins were in the equation. Like, I just think it was just, what they were going through. together. And let me tell you that my two older cousins, that's not their father. They have a different father. So, oh my God, there's just so much I could say. But, oh my gosh. And I don't blame her completely. I really don't. I understand why she felt the need to lie to us. Like, I understand why she stayed with this man. I can understand why she busts her ass. Like, because I bust my ass trying to fix things and like have hope and have, that dedication. Like, I want to be a wife. I want to be a good wife. I want our family to work out. I will work my hardest and I will just do my best. I could see her being that way because I was that way in the relationship. So, and things are going to come out like, and I believe that I mentioned that like in my other podcasts, where I discuss my breakup, my most recent breakup. That's why I kind of understand like why she stayed, why she made choices, why she said the things that she said, why she excused a whole bunch of shit, not just from her husband, but from her sons. You know, um, there was a time where my dad, and honestly, I asked my dad about this, and he said, you know what? I don't think they really know that this happened, with my two older cousins. But there was a time where, the father was drunk and he brought my two older cousins to my dad. And he said, here, I don't want them. And my dad said, okay, you guys are now my boys. So I don't know if my two older cousins know that. I don't, my dad says the same thing, that he doesn't know if they know. But, and the reason why that came up recently was because, we heard news that the oldest, my oldest cousin, was like helping out, you know, that guy that he now calls father and has been calling him dad for so many years. And it's like, dude, the father, the stepfather, I should really be saying, should, come clean and say, oh, when you are this age, this is what I've done. Because I don't know if the stepfather, if he told, or if he would have told him, what would my cousin do, or what would he say? Like, would he be like, you know what, I'm not helping you no more? Because my dad was more of a dad than he was, the stepfather. And I know that hurts my dad because my dad legit adopted them. Like, legally, he adopted them. And they're still calling that piece of shit their dad. So I know that hurts my dad. I know it hurts my dad. But my dad, he's a strong man. He always says, you know what, that's okay, but it's still not right. You know what I mean? Like, and they're not gonna care. Like I said, if they're listening to this podcast, they're not gonna fucking care. They're just gonna get mad. And if they get mad, they're gonna get mad at the wrong person. First of all, they're gonna get mad at me, and I had no, like, I have nothing to do with all of that situation. And I know they're gonna say, well, if it's none of your business, then why are you talking about this? Because first of all, she's my mom too, for one. And I have never treated her like shit. I have never done what you guys have done to her. And what you guys are probably still doing to her. Even though she's 6 feet underground, gone almost over a year now. So I'm going to talk about it. She's been abused. I've been abused. Where the fuck were you guys at when she was being abused? You guys were a part of it. I'm sure you guys knew that she was getting smacked the fuck up, probably right in front of you guys, and you still call that piece of shit father. I know you guys heard the fights, in the slamming, in the screaming, and the yelling, and the, like, you guys, I'm sure of it. And you still call him father. Yeah, there's always two sides to a story, and I've always said that. But that's your mom. She's the one that you follow. That piece of shit isn't even your dad. Not even your real dad. And you give him a pass. The fuck are you talking about? Ugh. Do I need to say more? You know what I mean? Like, you were her sons. We're all in our 30s now. And, oh my gosh, you guys could have done so much more. And, my, the oldest cousin, he's with this girl, and she's like younger than me. And I don't know, they're the same. Like, I could just like go in detail into like how he is as a person, and I could go into how she is as a person, and how their stepdad is as a person. Not just my first cousin, but like his brother, and then the two younger ones, and like, where the fuck are they at now, and where the fuck were they then? Like, they were not there. And my mom, like my aunt, she was living on the streets. And again, I feel like I don't have to know the whole situation, but I would never allow my mom to live on the fucking streets. We had no idea that was happening. No idea. No idea. And if we knew, I would have been one of the main ones out there looking for her, to bring her home and take care of her. But she hid from us. She lost her job, she lost her apartment. And the cousin that I really grew up with, he was the second oldest. Like, me and him grew up together, and he treated me like shit all our lives. Like, ever since since we were kids, like, he used to just bully me. He used to like make fun of me and stuff, but like, somehow I felt like he was my best friend. Like, he was manipulating me as a kid. He was a year older than me. We had friends and stuff, and like, he used to make fun of me along with them. Like, I never felt protected, because my dad would always say, like, that is your brother and she is your sister. Like, he would say things like that to us, but I don't know, like, we were just killing time, I guess. He was mean to me. I see that now. You know what I'm saying? Because I would spank my kid, if I had, a boy and a girl. Like, I would spank my son for treating his little sister like that, But of course, then I'm sure they didn't see it, because that's another thing about him. He was a pretender. He lied. He was always scheming and sneaking around. Like, that's how he was. Yeah, he faked a lot of shit. Um, so imagine a child, like, I mean, us as kids, him having and carrying that behavior all the way up until, high school. And then, like, we just kind of, they went back to their mom. And, after my dad adopted them and has done everything for them, as far as like buying them, well, my older cousin bought him a vehicle. They tried getting him into like doctor school, and like, they just did a lot of shit for them. And what has that, guy that used to abuse their mom, like, what has he done for them? Absolutely nothing. So does he get a pass now? Like, what is this? It's unfair. It's unfair to, most of all, our mom. It was unfair to her from the very fucking beginning. And it's unfair to my dad. It's unfair to my mom. And they're still to this day not trying to fix shit. They have a lot of mending to do. It's just, there's just a lot, you guys. Like, this one, I felt like this one was going to be a very, very short podcast, but like, I'm just realizing how difficult all this shit is. And like, just not trying to compare too much of my situation, like when I was going through it, to hers, because she's been going through it like for so long. And obviously, like, I haven't had it that bad like her to say, like, oh, I'm the victim too. Like, it's just understanding why she felt like she had to lie. Like, why she felt she had to keep pushing, or like why she felt like she had to keep working while he laid around at home drinking, chilling, just shooting the breeze. And, again, I don't know. But when a person's been abused for so long like that, you should probably fucking believe what they're telling you about that person, or like what's happening. Like, listen to them and be like, oh, you know what, like, you shouldn't be with him. But you have to think of the mind games, man. Like, yeah, it's easy for us to say, oh, you should leave him, he's not right for you. Like, oh, that's really like messed up, but you're still gonna stay with him and sleep with him. And because I be saying the same thing, I have before. But when I experienced that for myself, it was kind of like, dude, like, it is kind of hard to walk away from someone like that. Like, that they're a toxic person. And somehow, you talk about toxic. Like, when I hear the word toxic, yeah, it's like a porta potty. It's like they're toxic, but you use them. Why? Because if you gotta go, you gotta go. You know what I'm saying? So, toxic. Yeah, it's bad for you, but you must. You just feel like you have to, like, you have to just keep believing in that person. Like, you just gotta, like, oh, you just don't understand. And yes, we don't understand. We don't. Like, what the fuck is this dude telling you? Like, what does this guy like have over you? Like, what has he really done that we haven't seen that was maybe good for you and we just missed it? We just don't know. We see the bruises, we see her crying, we see her stressing, we see her tired, and we kind of see her not getting better, but getting worse, And it's like, you have a son, well, you have sons, that really need to be pulling their weight for their mom. Because we felt like she was doing everything, and there's just little like clues, I guess. I mean, every time we went to their house, like, they were just watching movies. And it's like, how many places did you apply at today, you know? And they just kind of laugh it off, or they shrug it off like, who the fuck are you, But it's kind of like, get up off your ass and start making dinner. Like, start doing something. And when I talk about seeing like little things around the house, like if you see like too many potato sacks, like, potatoes are cheap, if you're seeing rice, like them eating rice, or if you see loaves of bread, um, you know, just cheap sodas in the fridge. Um, no disrespect, yes, food is food, but that's like poor people food. You know what I'm saying? Like, though, that's the food that you run to and you stock up on when you don't have enough funds. So for me, it's like, oh my God, I want to stock up your refrigerator, but I don't want these fat asses to eat everything, because you're at work all day and they're home all day. Guess where it's going to go? It is not fair, you know? Um, it's, you want to talk about hard knock life. Like, she was living it, and all these men in her life, and like I said, men is completely being taken out of context. It's not even, they're not even men. They did this to her, they were a part of it. They should have been paying her rent, they should have been stocking up her fridge. That's what a man is supposed to do, should be. I don't care if they had girlfriends, that's their mom, and she's struggling, and you allowed it. Let me hurry this up. So, during the last, few parts of, you know, before her life ended, she was staying with her older son. He had a house, he was the first to have a child, he was the first to get married. He wanted to be the first for everything, because he's one of those guys that's like, I know, yeah, 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 I know, yeah, I know, yeah, 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 I know, like, I know, like, I know. He's one of those guys. She went to go live with them, okay? And, my nephew, he's a teenager now. Um, dude, that's a whole nother podcast. Oh my God. I'm telling you guys, it's a lot. It's a lot, man. Um, but, my older cousin and his girl, they're shitheads. They're mean, they're disrespectful, they think they're the shit. They think they can say and do whatever the fuck they can to people. Um I knew the ice cream truck was coming. I fucking knew it. I'm trying to be serious here. What the fuck? Again, I wish I could share ice cream with my grandmother and Carol. I could just hear her laughing at me right now. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry again. I cry every time the ice cream man comes. It's true. Damn you, ice cream truck. I'm crying and laughing at the same time. I miss her. I miss Carol. Carol's toxic. And I say that in a sense like, she's so funny. She's so funny. She's so beautiful. She's so friendly. She's so helpful. She's so different. Yeah, she was popular, but I think there was a lot to her that she compressed, you know? But anyways, she was living with these shitheads. Tried to be a grandmother to her first grandchild, and you know, she already wasn't making that much money, you know. Um she had to take a bus, and it took her like, I believe it was like 2 to 3 hours just to get to work. She's always telling my mom how she fell asleep, or you know, missed a bus because she fell asleep at the bus stop very early in the morning, or she'd fall asleep on the bus. You know, she's trying to be this happy person that we've always seen her, you know, we knew her to be, you know, that bubbly person. um but it's like, both of those shitheads, they had vehicles, and they just made it like it was such a bad chore that they didn't want to do, just to go and pick her up. Something that could have took, yeah, you know, maybe half an hour to do, you know, go to her, pick her up and bring her home. She's home quicker because she worked all day. She's tired of walking, you know. Don't you feel bad for her that she has to sit on a bus all those hours and have to do it like every single day? They didn't feel shit for her. They didn't love her. I know they didn't, because I seen it. With the little money that she had, she bought groceries. And in their house, they bought their own groceries. And so she had to buy her own groceries. And see, because they shopped at Fry's and she shopped at Food City, which is, you know, like a Hispanic market. You know, everything's, you know, cheap, but it's good. You know, it's good food. They fucked her up right there, because she just bought all those groceries. And you know what they did with it? With her groceries? They bagged up all the groceries that she just bought, and they tossed all that shit into the dumpster. My aunt was devastated. And the girlfriend was laughing her ass off. You want to know how I know that they didn't love her? They didn't care. I saw it when we were all at the hospital and she was in a coma in a hospital bed. I looked at my cousin and I looked at her. No emotion. No emotion. She did not look sad. He did not look sad. He looked angry. My mom was crying because that's her sister. Even my nephew, you know, her grandson, he didn't know what to feel. He was sitting there like, again, like them, like no emotion, but like he just didn't, he looked like he didn't understand what was going on. You know, and that's not his fault. That's not his fault. she, my second oldest cousin, he was the one that let his brother know what was happening. And, they were homeless. Something happened with her. I can't remember, but something happened with her when they were on the streets, and she went into the hospital. And my cousin, he's another one. He's the scheming one, the one that I grew up with. He approved all these surgeries and signed the papers and everything, even when they told him she does not have a chance even with this surgery, and he still fucking went and signed it. And when she didn't wake up from, she was in a coma, that's when he said, like, yeah, I signed everything, and, the chances aren't good. And it's like, what the fuck happened? And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Like, I mean, that's just what we were told, but it's like, damn, you helped put her out. And what's so crazy was when we all showed up at the hospital, that piece of shit ran away like a fucking rat. He was nowhere to be seen. He did not want to face us. He did not want to face the family. She was being abused by him. But we were all with her at her bedside, and I have never seen her without makeup before. That was the first time in my whole life that I've known her. I've never seen her without makeup. She looked like a completely different person. When she was laying there, they put like a football helmet on her. I don't know why. I don't know if she like bumped her head or something. Like, she just looked, I just felt humiliated for her, like, I did not recognize. While we're all there crying and talking to her and saying our goodbyes, those guys just stood there like, when can we leave? Like, when is this gonna be over? Or I felt like saying, you know what? Just pull the plug. I know you want to pull the plug. Just pull it. Grab that bitch and pull. And go home. That's what the fuck they look like. I couldn't stay. I said my goodbye to her, and that I love her and I miss her, and to enjoy her new life. I walked out of there without saying anything to anybody, and my dad stopped me. He was asking me if I was okay, and I said I just miss her already. Like, but I want her to go. Like, nobody here treated her good. No one took care of her. So, on my way home, I was crying, and next thing you know, my aunt was sitting next to me in my car in the passenger seat. she looked like herself again. Like, she had on like these black pants, and it was like a emerald, like a black and emerald green long sleeve blouse on. Her hair was done, you know, she had her makeup on, and she was smiling at me. I knew right then they pulled the plug. Like, I knew it. She looked at me, and then, she smiled, and she made herself comfortable. Like, she was like a sigh, and she just kind of sat back in the chair, and I looked forward because I was on the highway. Then when I looked back, she was gone. She came to see me before she left. So I'm going to end this with a very shitty reality. In my culture, um, it takes should take 4 days, 4 nights before you bury somebody. My cousin had her in the ground, I believe, on the second day, because the next day we all met up again, and he was like, I just want to get this shit over with. I was like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm not going to and that's like another thing. Um, we weren't going to open our house to the family, because when there's a death in the family, you just kind of have like an open house. But I told my mom, I said, no, I am not doing this. And my mom's like, I agree. And I'm pretty sure he was upset about the whole thing, but it's like, when you're ready, like when you actually man up, we will tell you why. But you have your head so far up your ass, your whole fucking ego, how you want to be the first to do everything in this lifetime. Like, no, I know, you know everything. Like, we'll tell you when you're down. Like, we'll tell you why. And it probably won't even matter to him at that time. When it actually comes, it's not gonna fucking matter. It's not. But he had her in the ground so fucking quick. That to me is so disrespectful. I'm like, damn, you must have really hated your mom. You have no fucking idea. We all have no idea what she went through, what she chose to tell us. Maybe she wanted to tell us, but she was just afraid of what we would say to her, or say about her, or think about her. But she done it to keep us close. She done it to keep us close. No matter how it may look. I know that feeling. But I'm saying it for her. And this is our mothers and our families part 2. I'd like to thank you guys so much for listening. And I hope you guys learned something from this somehow, some way. I probably will be talking more about it in the future because, like I said, there's a lot. There's a lot. And it needs to be said. It needs to be talked about. It needs to smack you in the face. All of us. In the face. You guys know what to do. You should know what to do. I shouldn't have to tell you what to do. Don't forget to add, rate, comment, subscribe, follow, and share. Until my next podcast. Peace.